Well, welcome again. Thank you guys for coming midweek. With the bye week being not having the media on Mondays, through the beginning of the week, we got a chance to really sit down and focus. This bye week comes at a good time where we can push pause and focus on ourselves, focus on our team, really look at what the realities are, which is, our record isn't where we want it to be. It's not the standard. Anybody around here, I know that more than anybody. But the reality is we're 6 points off from being 6-1. So now it's time to find that. Where is that gap from those 6 points through the course of three of our losses that we've had? And that's what we get to do this week. Because from 3 games, we certainly can find a gap, of where we can make up the difference, where we can grow. Yeah, we do have a young team. We've played with the 4th youngest personnel in the nation in college football this year, but we're not young anymore. These guys got tremendous experience. Our vets and leaders know and understand how they can lead and how we can build. And, it was awesome to be able to be out there with these guys these last couple of days. We just left the practice field, and that's one of the most competitive, energetic practices that we've had since we've been here. And so that just goes to attest to the coaches and the players for us being able to sit down and take a hard look at the things that we can do better from all phases of the game, all situations from first down all the way to the goal line, field zones included, down and distances. And and as you watch the film, you can tell from the beginning of the year there's been, improvement, a lot of improvement in certain areas, but it's just, again, it's not enough to make up for those 6 points that we've lost by in those games that obviously make a tremendous difference in what the record looks like. But we're excited. We're excited to practice one more time tomorrow, and then the guys will get a couple days to get a breath of fresh air, which they need, they deserve. Again, they've been awesome this week. It wasn't easy coming off the last game. And they've done a really good job rebounding, coming back, and having some fun.
Questions?
Coach, in terms of the 2-quarterback system, as you look at the film, how did things work out with that over the weekend, and why didn't Taylor play more in the second half?
Yeah, there's some things that operationally that Maddox was handling better. That's the bottom line. But again, we're going to use. We have 2 good quarterbacks, okay? We're very fortunate for that, and we've said that. And it's given us the ability to be more efficient in certain windows given what their skill sets and what they do well. And so, yeah, I know we threw 2 interceptions, and that's going to be the topic of discussion, early in the game. But the reality is, too, it's not just always the quarterback or just the routes. Yeah, he threw the ball, but balls get tipped. We can and will do a better job protecting them. We didn't do a great job protecting them in one of those situations, and we got to create a clean pocket. It's a team game. It's a team effort. It's just when the quarterback throws, an explosive play to one of the wide receivers, typically those 2, they get the credit, they get the praise, but there's really, at least 5, potentially 6 other guys that make that play work in terms of the protection. And so I saw at this practice that we just left, I saw some really cool things from the O-line, working with the quarterbacks before the play and after the play, and encouraging, celebrating wins together in terms of winning 1 rep and then moving on to the next. And for us, ultimately, that's what it comes down to. Yes, we've got to create a rhythm and consistency, and that's honestly no different whether you're playing 1 quarterback or 2 from game to game. And that's on us as coaches to be able to prepare them and to obviously be able to create that rhythm. The execution then obviously comes down from the players on the field, and we're going to work really well together down the stretch as coaches and as staff to make sure on the offense side of the ball that we have that rhythm. We have a good offense. You look at the numbers in terms of what we've been able to do, and comparably speaking in the conference, maybe not where we can be or where we wanted to be at this point, but we've done some good things.
You know how important confidence is, especially at quarterback. How do you balance building a guy like Taylor's confidence up versus putting the guy in that gives you the best chance to win now? How do you balance that as a coach?
Well, the reality is, again, is that we're going to use the quarterback that situationally has proven to be more efficient. And if we go back to the game before, both guys did some things really efficient on critical drives. Again, there was a 13-play drive where both of them were a part of and made some big-time plays. There were some critical plays in the game before where we extended on some third and extra long situations that aren't favorable to win. There's some fourth down plays. Unfortunately, in the 4-minute, TG is obviously a really good ball carrier. In the 4-minute last week, he makes 2 guys miss on the perimeter and runs, but unfortunately we get a penalty. So it's using the guys in the situations that are going to allow the team like that to be successful.
As kind of goes with that, and Taylor being a starter and the focal point, you guys started out on this quarterback system. Would you have anticipated that Maddox would end up playing more, over the last 2 games than Taylor, or is that just kind of in game it's had to be that way, I guess? Yeah,
Given the game before where we were behind, no different than the previous week where we were behind and Maddox came in and led us down the field in 2 drives. He's been efficient at doing that. And just happened in those 2 games because he went in the game. It's what he's done in practice. And now TG has those capabilities too, but Mad Dog's been more efficient with it. And so, again, did I foresee Mad Dog playing more in the last 2 games? Not entirely, but again, the game's going to work out that way in terms of it's no different on defense. There's certain personnel because of what the offense is doing that, a guy that's a part of one package might play more because the offense is giving us more than that. Last week we got a lot more 0-1 personnel, so no tailback, 1 tight end in the game than they had shown. So there were certain guys in the game more than what was probably anticipated.
Andy, we've never had to ask you this before, but how do you process the outside noise, and what is your message to so many fans who are not happy with the direction of this program right now?
Yeah, I don't, to be honest with you, 100%, I've told you guys before, I don't pay attention to the outside noise. I never have, and I'm not going to start doing that. I know the team that we've recruited and the team we're building, the record. I'm not happy with the record either. I don't think anybody is, right? But the reality of it is it's not where we want to be, especially in the non-conference. But we have an opportunity here in our conference where we're 2-1, and we have the ability to work for our goal down the stretch here, and that's the bottom line. Again, as bad as the record looks, we're talking about 6 points. There's no excuses, though. For me, it's in our staff and our players. It's within where those 6 points can we all get better to make up for that. Again, we're not a young team anymore. These guys have played 7 games now. We got a lot of experience. We're going to be able to apply that as we move forward here down the stretch in the second half.
From the outside, it seems like the biggest issue with this team, and you said the word many times this year, is inconsistency. Why is this team so inconsistent?
Well, we're playing young players. There's plays at the end of the game there's plays at the end of the game. There's plenty of things at the end of the last game that we control and we could have executed both as coaches and players, and we both take that. It starts with me. I'm at the forefront of that. For all the fans out there and all that, that's on me, number one. Whether it's offense, defense, special teams, or the players, that's on me. I'll have their back every single day of the week. And I look forward to going down the stretch and marching in each one of these battles that we're going to have because they're dang good teams we play. But the bottom line is, yeah, the record isn't what we all want it to be. Okay, I don't know anybody who's going to be happy about that. But the reality is, we're talking about 6 points, and we're not having this discussion. So let's find within those 6 points that we can get better. All the things that we've learned from in our experiences, we grow. Whether they're veterans or young players. We've been in a lot of end-of-game scenarios this year, okay? Fair to say. We have the experience of those things, and how will we operate going forward? How will we be able to build and use the experience to build the confidence to go when we're put in the next end-of-game situation, knowing whether it's 4-minute, 2-minute drive, whether it's a special teams end-of-game situation. We know now, because of the experiences we have, exactly what we need to do and how we're going to do it.
When we talked to Bush last week, we asked him what he learned about the 2 QB system against San Jose, and he said, well, you'd kind of like to have one, is what he learned. And he was kind of joking, but kind of not. Is that something that he's pushing for? Are you more pushing for the 2 QB system, or he was kind of behind, sticking with that at this point, I guess?
Yeah, the bottom line is, I'm going to go with what our offense coordinator feels, is the best thing, and then I want to know the plan too, just like you guys do. I'm going to be a part of that plan. I'm going to be a part of facilitating that plan and exactly what it looks like but ultimately I'm not the guy calling the plays either. I'm a guy that has a lot of influence on what we do and how we build the culture and the vibe of it. But, again, right now we're in a situation where we got two very capable quarterbacks.
When you guys sub, I mean, because it's football, I mean, every position you'll be in someplace, out someplace, depending on down distance scenarios. You don't see that at quarterback much. You guys have been doing that. Are you just expecting that the quarterback position would be like any other in that situation, Andy?
Again, we've studied other teams that have done this very successfully, and to say that we need to be exactly like them, not to say that. To say that we can be a team that has a primary quarterback with another guy that can be able to come in and be able to do some things efficiently that is going to help the team win. There's really two models of it, right? And so, again, this is a great week for us to hit pause and really look at it and find what is best for us as we move forward. Because ultimately, it doesn't need to look like anybody else. We need to do what's best for our offense that our offensive personnel does. We don't need to, if that means throwing the ball 40 times, that's throwing the ball 40 times. If that means it's running the ball 40 times to be successful and win a game, then that's what we need to do. Ultimately, as we all know, based off of what we just talked about with the record, that's all that matters. And that's all we intend to focus on as we go down the stretch.
You guys faced adversity last year and turned it around and went 10-4. What did you personally learn last year that you think can help you turn it around this season?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that carry over, but again, it's a very new team. It's a different year. It's a new team. A big part of that is the experience, of our players. Again, we're 7 games in now, and whether we're a young team or not a young team, we have a lot of experience through the course of our games, and so how we can apply that moving forward. Really, a lot of our players, too, have played a lot of special teams that are young. And so whether it's not, we always talk about offense or defense, but even these guys on special teams that have played a lot of reps, and typically guys don't get that many reps as young guys. You usually cut your teeth on special teams, but it's maybe your sophomore year, your redshirt freshman year. We're 11th in the country of playing true freshmen, too. So what I have learned from this year is that our guys are growing. They are getting better. Again, we've fallen this short, and that's not good enough. And now it's for us as coaches to find what that gap is and help these young men, whether they're freshmen or seniors, grow forward and be able to be their best down the stretch. And we're excited to do that, obviously.
There was a lot of talk on the play before the Hail Mary when Rodney came in and kind of blitzed there, and I know a lot of fans just see it and don't know kind of coverage and all that kind of stuff. But what did you make of when that call and then Andrew looked like Andrew was kind of in a tough spot having to stay with one of the better receivers in the league there?
Right. So, we have different plays we could have called. We could have been in certain situations. We were working to figure out with the referees what they were going to do with the clock. And once we did, there were different situations we could have been in right there. But in particular to the play we called, it ended up being where our linebacker was working a hook drop with a post safety over the top. And we obviously didn't execute that. Well, it's not just 2 guys, it's the blitz pattern. If we execute the blitz pattern properly, if we watched the film, nobody was going to block Rod, and we all would have known what happens at that point. But again, that's the way it goes in those situations. That's the experience that we're talking about as us as coaches, us as players, and being able to execute exactly what it is that we've practiced so that we can get off the field and get ourselves in a situation to be successful.
You've mentioned the 6 points a lot of times, and how close you are to a different record. But at the same time, those 3 games you're mentioning, all 3 of them you have second half leads. 2 of them came down to the last play of the game. I know consistency, you talk a lot. Where do you find that consistency? How do you get it?
Right. And so, again, that is football. It's one play after another. It's one series after another. And it is a game of momentum, okay? And what keeps that momentum is exactly what we're talking about. It's the consistency that goes in, and it's not just what you see between the snaps from one play to the next, from the snap to the whistle. It's us learning and growing and making sure that we are doing a good job with our players that are going to be on the field in terms of when we're off the field on the sideline, and making sure that we're keeping our guys in tune with what we're getting and what could come next that maybe some younger guys don't have the experience of because they haven't played a lot. That's where we can grow as coaches to build that consistency and keep them in rhythm to make sure that when we go out for the next drive, whether it's offense or defense, that we know exactly what it is that we need to get done.
Where do you want to see your team take the greatest strides coming out of the process?
You know what? Some of the biggest things that we've been able to identify is, defensively, a big part of it is within how we leverage the pocket, how we rush the quarterback, right? How we create pressure on the quarterback. That's a big part of it. We can go in and talk into coverages and coverage techniques. Like, we've done all this well before. That's the part for us, too. Like, we've done this really well before. We've played really good defense here for a long time. What we need to do to get back to doing that is sometimes the simplest things, like making sure that we are taking the proper leverage with whatever coverage technique we're getting in a good stance, and our weight is positioned on the insteps of our feet so that we can play with proper leverage, transition out of things, and we've made growth at that, before Armarion had to leave the game last week, he was playing his best game by far, and that was a big part of the success that we were having, given the matchups that we had in that game with the wide receivers. So for us on defense, it comes down to always the experience that comes with it of winning the pre-snap, making sure that we're squared away and we're lined up and we're all on the same page. And then it comes down to the finest fundamentals and details like that we learned since we're, young kids playing Pop Warner. Offensively, we've ran the ball pretty well. That's obvious, right? But being able to get more guys involved, in the offense and be able to use certain personnel. There's ways too of spreading the field and getting run yards through certain passing game, philosophy. There's ways that we can use how the defenses are loading the box to be able to get certain route concepts and things in that through self-scout has shown that there's holes in coverages that we can look at attacking down the stretch here.
Not to ask an injury question, you've had some key guys out of late.
Right.
Any chance you can get a little help?
We are, and that's a huge piece of it too, right? Is that DJ's out there practicing. George is expected to be out there, back in there practicing soon. We have. I tip my hat to the offensive line. We've gone 8-9 deep this season into the O-line, again, because of recruiting and the development here. We have still ran the ball well, and we've protected the quarterback for the most part pretty well. And, the top 10 coming into fall camp are finally all backing together and on the practice field, getting ready for this second half stretch.
You've had a lot of success in your career. I don't know if you ever expected to be in this position of 3-4 record at this point of the season. So are you surprised that you're at this record? And how are you personally processing that?
You know what, for me, Mike, I've been fortunate to be a part of some really good things, and that's given me the opportunity to learn and grow, and then be able to take experiences like we're talking about and put it into certain situations, be able to apply certain things. But I've also been a part of things like this, way back when I first started coaching. For me, it's always about keeping perspective, number one, okay? That's the hardest thing to do in this world. Trust me, I want to be at a certain spot right now too, but I'm thankful for the Lord. Like, all the things that happened the other night, in the last 6 minutes, it happened for a reason. And we take that in stride, and I'm going to stay by what I always do, which is walk in faith and answer to a higher being. And our players have done a really good job. Again, this week, we dusted ourselves off. We got back on the field, and we've had some of our best practices. We truly know and understand who we are and what we need to do to be our best moving forward. And to be honest with you, it was fun out there today, Mike. Those players, they helped me. The guys on this team, the way the coaches are coaching right now, the enthusiasm, the way they're getting after it on the practice field, the way everybody, that's fun. I'm not going to lose the joy of that, even though our record isn't what we want it to be. I'm not going to lose the joy of being at my alma mater and getting to coach football here and be around these guys each and every day.
My follow-up was going to be about the locker room, and I would imagine you're keeping a very close eye on the locker room right now. How are they responding, and specifically, because it's only human nature, when there's a team Mets and a team green, do you have to proactively look at that to make sure the locker room doesn't get divided between two quarterbacks?
I'm going to be honest with you. We asked them as we were doing this, like, this is something that you don't wait to respond and see how that's going to work out. You don't do it that way. We've talked to them, you know. And again, the things that I've said in the past few weeks, you may expect that it's that way, but we didn't. We had these conversations before, you know, we went down this path. And the things that I said in the media is coming from our players about how they feel about both of these guys, how they care about them. And ultimately, we're in the position we're in right now, so what is everybody going to try to do, starting with them, okay? And that's not going to happen with this family. That's not going to happen, okay? The number one thing that we started out when we did this is making sure that everybody was all in, because ultimately, we're a team, okay? Working our tails off to grow, to thrive, to become a team that works like a family.
One more about the QBs. Even everything you said about Maddox and his ability to operationally be better, is TG still, would you consider your starter and the focal point, you know, when you guys come back from the bye against Wyoming?
You know I'm not going to give a competitive advantage answer on something like that. But we love what TG has done and what he continues to do. Again, he made an extremely impressive play at the end of that game that unfortunately got called back for a penalty.
With, I know you mentioned playing young kids. Jalen Neal was thrown into the fire in that game, and he's up. I mean, Markel was suited up, and well, as much as you can say to this, I guess, but he was coaching up, you know, Jalen on the sideline there, and I mean, why'd you have to go with Jalen? I guess is the simple.
Yeah, because Markel was down, and we tried to get him ready for the game, but it just wasn't right for him, you know, for us and our medical staff. And unfortunately, he wasn't able to play. Otherwise, he would have. Trust me, he wanted to be in there. But I'll tell you this about Jay Neal. I'm so excited for him and what he's been able to do and what he's been able to persevere. Again, here's a young guy that for his family, for his brothers, jumps in there at the end of a game, and we're going against some of the best wide receivers in the conference, the fourth number, you know, the fourth passing offense in the nation, and he jumps in there, you know, and I know there was a score there, but he made a bunch of good plays too for a guy that jumped in there, you know, at the end of the game, and we'll ride with that. I mean, what I told him after the game, and we talked about a couple days ago, is like, I'm proud of you, man. Like, we just need to keep growing on this, and down the stretch, you're going to make those plays. Full confidence, just no different in him. And, like, the growth Amarion has been having, the growth Marco has been having, you know, and some of these guys and they are here. They're full-time starters now, and it's time to roll.
Andy, you brought in Skip Paul yesterday, and you bring in speakers all the time. The timing of his message and his history here at Boise State, he's been in these shoes, he's been in this situation. What was his message to the team yesterday? What did you want him to say?
I don't know what you're talking about, Mike.
Skip
Which-
didn't address the team, or is that today, or was that yesterday?
He didn't address the team yesterday. I'm not sure what you're talking about. We do have a team barbecue today that he's coming by today to hang out with. I'm not sure what you're talking about in terms of yesterday, though.
Is he speaking to the team today?
Typically, we let Coach speak to the team when he comes around. Yeah, that's for the team. That's a team barbecue. Again, I don't even. Yeah.
The two onside kicks. I mean, I know if Eric just falls on that one, the storyline's a lot different today. What you see on those two onside kicks? I know the second one obviously didn't count because of the penalty, but just for that to happen twice like that.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately that comes down on us as coaches. We got to make sure that we're full understanding of what we need to do and how we need to execute. That's one of the controllables that we're talking about at the end of the game. This is something we practice, something we review, something we watch film on. Ultimately, we didn't do a good enough job because we didn't execute, and so that's on me.
You guys have the 24-hour rule. You know, just I don't know what the mood was on that flight coming back, but how ready were the guys after that 24 hours?
Yeah, we
to
just
get going, or was
right.
it kind of a little tough after those 24 hours to say, okay,
No, I mean we just talked about how we got back out. The best thing to do is get back in the weight room, throw some weights around, get back on the field, and get to work. And today was one of our best practices we've ever had. I mean, the competition level, the energy, the way the guys were competing, it was going back and forth. This week it's about being 1-0, and that competition starts from within for us, and the guys, they did a good job of that. You know, it's part of sports. Things aren't going to go right all the time. It's part of sports. Like, you're going to take some L's sometimes, and it's always about how you respond. That's a part of life too. And these young men, all of us together right now, we're going to be stronger for this. Again, when you believe in something and you have a faith and a foundation in something, when times get hard, you don't veer off of it. You don't get worried about other things, the outside, the this, that. Like, there's nothing more that matters but the people in this building and the young men. And to be honest, I mean, like, we had, you know, a booster function on Monday, and it was awesome to see all the boosters. I'm very grateful for their support that were in here. And to be honest with you, that put some energy into me. You know, these are experienced people that lead their own businesses and understand what it is sometimes to go through some things. So what I will say is I'm grateful, and really to all the people that are out there that may watch this, that have blown up my phone with support and wanting to do whatever they can to be a part of this. Like, I'm grateful for all you guys, and that's why we do what we do. That's why Boise State is Boise State.
No, two-thirds ejection expected for them versus Wyoming.
Mm-mm.
Did you receive, I mean, going back and look at Alexander's career here, I think I'm not positive, but he's picked up one personal foul penalty. He had one penalty of any kind called him against him in the previous 20 games, and he picks up two unsportsmanlike conduct in 53 seconds. Just going back and watching, it's really hard to tell what happened. Did you receive any type of explanation for what did happen with Alexander?
Yeah, it just came down to, again, I can't comment on the refereeing stuff and all that. Otherwise, you know what's going to happen. Ultimately, we got to focus on what we can control. But you know, that was a very intense game. I'm just, you know, how we control our emotions and our focus. That's what we can control through the course of the game. You know, no matter what's going on. You know, and it's a learning lesson for all of us, right? Just the competitive vibe of what we do and how we do it. Things are going to happen on the field, but we've got to be able to keep control of our emotions, our reactions. Yeah.
So you got the emotion from Marco Notriani after I don't know if you saw his press conference, but he was in tears for most of it. And I don't know if you know, in terms of a player speaking from the heart, but about as real as a press conference I've seen since I've been here. He was a guy that was expecting to play behind a sixth-year senior linebacker this year, and all of a sudden he's the centerpiece of your defense. How do you help him as he feels like he's dealing with the weight of the world, it seems, at least judging by his reaction in that press conference?
Yeah, and that's a lot of them. They care. And the cool part is, you know, it is a lot, but we're not gonna let that pressure of being in a certain position get to these guys and affect a game that they love to play. And Marco is a great example because he plays the game with a certain passion. Again, we've spoken about how much he's grown and how he prepares and all the things he does. Like, I mean, it's part of the same deal. It's whether it's a coach or it's a player. Like, no, we know what we need to do. We've been through the experiences of this season. We all know that we've experienced, you know, some tough lessons, needless to say, but that doesn't mean you see the emotion in them, you see how much they care, and that's probably why they went out there, you know, and the way we worked together here in the last 2 days.
Andy, you talked about your phone blowing up. Whether it's calls or whatever, what's been your message to recruits over the last 10 days?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of that too is a lot of those guys are here and get to be inside the building and see it. Our recruits, and in most cases, have been here multiple times. It's not just one time. Their families, they themselves have been in and around the building. They can visually see and understand and know the growth and development, in particular to the young guys in our program. Again, being the fourth youngest personnel that's being used on college football, they see how these young men are developing. It's not just on the football field. They get to see the things off the field. They get to be around the players and the interaction. So we all know for our recruits and their families, like, they know what this place is truly about. They know who the people are in this building, and it's a great opportunity. We're going to get to go. We don't get to visit with the recruits, but we get to go to high schools, here in a couple days, and we're looking forward to going and seeing them and talking with their coaches and the counselors and all that at their school. So that's a big part. Like, they don't have to just listen to the outside or guess or know, what they are a part of this. They've been here, they see it, they know the growth that is actually going on. And again, the reality of where we're at, not ideal, but the realities of the development that's taking place.
What do you think of the, not just in general, not just that play, but just in general, when there's offsetting personal fouls, when there's 3-1, or, I mean, it could be 20-1, and there's no difference in the thing. I mean, what do you make of that? Is that a rule that needs to be looked at, you think, in terms of?
Yeah, I mean, especially when it's a dead ball. I mean, at what point when it's a dead ball? But again, there's a lot of things that happen that I really can't comment on. That was a very intense game. We said a prayer, and we're very fortunate and glad, the young man that got hurt in the game as well, and is doing better and was able to get out of the hospital. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, we're playing sports. This is very competitive sports, and there's a very high standard, for our program and the programs we're going to play against as we move down the stretch here. But the bottom line is, like, there's some things that came out of that game that we can learn from, that we can grow from, that will help us be better, down the stretch, whether it's pre-snap operation to end-of-game scenarios and situations.
Last week or the week before, they asked if he's the best running back in college football, and now ESPN, apparently the AP and CBS Sports have all validated that he clearly is right up there as the top. He was a kid that out of high school, I mean, he didn't have like a ton of offers, and you guys found him. And what has it been about his development where, as a true sophomore, he's been able to ascend so quickly?
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously very talented, but he's developed a ton since he's been here. Physically, he's a different player than obviously when he stepped in here. The good Lord has gifted him with a lot of talent, so putting some hard work into combining that with talent and keeping the humbleness and the hungriness to stay the course and stay the path. It's not easy for young guys too. Like, he will continue to be successful, because of what he put in. Like, last week he had his best week of practice, and look how he played in the game. He created energy at practice last week by some of the cuts and things he was doing and some of the particular run schemes that we were practicing. That's what he's capable of doing, not just on game day, but in a given practice. And so we're excited for him. Again, we've been able to recruit well. A lot of our players are high school players that we are extremely excited about. And speaking back to our recruits, like, we're a program that right now we are recruiting the high school players very hard and being able to find the right people and the right fit. And obviously that's, we're playing with a fair amount of those guys on the field right now, and these guys are going to be really, really good players. And it's not just because of the coaches, but it's because of the upper leadership helping them grow along too.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.